Just imagine being in a relationship and during that relationship, your partner just decide they're going to stop talk to you. That would break the relationship, right? That would make you pretty furious. Like, why? Why would this person be in a relationship with me and just decide, okay, I'm not going to talk to that person no more. But yet still, you're still in a relationship. Now, imagine that being a marriage. That would be even worse, right? That, in my opinion, would break any marriage, because once there is no communication in a marriage, then basically that's not a marriage. And that's what's happening in this recap today. This lady spoke about how she started to date this man that she knew for quite some time, but she just wasn't really interested in him in that level. But over time, because of his persistence, you know, she figured, hey, there is something here, it possibly could work out, right? They started dating, and then eventually they ended up married after a number of years. And after them get married, things went downhill, right? Things started to change in him, and it got to a point where her husband just literally stopped talking to her after years of being married. Family, let's take a listen to this episode that was shared on Unstoppable Live.
I'm a person like this from a young age. I like to just be friendly, you know, build friendships between men and women, not necessarily relationship, you know, so I thought it would be nice to have someone to talk to and whatever. At that point, I had actually not been in a relationship for 10 years. I had just been alone for 10 years. So I was just open to friendship, you know. And because I knew him historically, I wasn't looking for a relationship with him because I didn't necessarily think it was going to go down that route. Anyway, he would call me and we would have these long conversations. And, you know, he was, you know, quite open. He would talk about his life, you know, as a young person and, you know, life in England. And what I should tell you is that, you know, he's a born Jamaican, and he's kind of what I'd call old school Jamaican. I would say, even though there was only like a 10-year gap between us, but he reminded me of my father, you know, just kind of authentic Jamaican. So even though he had been in UK for many years since he was a teenager, he maintained his authenticity, which I love that, because I'm a person that, all right, I might be born in England, but as far as I was concerned, I felt Jamaican because my parents are Jamaican, my grandparents are Jamaican, my siblings are Jamaican. So to me, I just felt my whole culture was Jamaican. So I was always looking to be with a Jamaican man, you know, because English men don't really interest me. So we had a good rapport because I said he was authentic Jamaican, he reminded me of the old time Jamaicans then, which is the people I'm used to because of my parents. So we always had a lot to talk about, and he would call me and we'd talk. And I noticed that he was getting to a point where he was wanting to, you know, to date me and whatever. As I said, I wasn't at that point looking to have a relationship with him because I didn't feel that we would necessarily be a best fit for a relationship, but I thought great for a friendship. So he was always saying, you know, where can we go for a date, you know? But the thing is, where I was at the time, he would be saying, you know, when we got to a dance and whatever, because he was like on that kind of circuit, the dance circuit, he would make dances and promote dances. But where I was at the time, I was saying, like, though I don't mind going to dances, but I don't like the smoky atmosphere of dances. And, you know, in those days, it was just pure smoke in the dances. So I said, well, I'm more a restaurant person. So, you know, I don't mind going to a restaurant. But I should say he was a ras. And for him, he don't really want to go eat at people restaurant because he cooks his own food and likes his own food and doesn't eat from other people. So we was always having this thing as, where can we go on a date? Anyway, we were talking back and forth, you know, regularly for, I would say, almost 6 months on the phone talking. And trust me, you know, he put himself out there because back then the mobile phones or I think you call them cell phones, they were the pay as you go, and trust me, that the credit run out fast. So sometimes he'd be on the he'd call me from his mobile phone, his credit would run out, he would go and then find a phone box, and he'll be there talking. One time he was talking for like 5 hours, just talking. And I remember I could hear the birds. He called me like midnight, and was talking, and suddenly I heard a bird singing. He'd been on the phone until dawn when the bird started to sing, and I realized that wow, we'd been talking for about 5 hours, and this man was out in the cold in the phone box talking to me, and that showed me he had a real commitment to to us, but I'm a very honest person. I just said to him, I like him and I love the conversation we had, but I wasn't really looking for the relationship because my heart wasn't there. I had to be honest. I couldn't just string him along. And he would sing me these wonderful love songs on the phone. And I would just say straight, really, I don't want to string you along, because I'm not that kind of person. And he said, well, why? You haven't got anyone in your life, you would like to have somebody. Because one thing we did, we talked about the things we wanted in life and what we didn't want in life. What we knew we both wanted was we wanted to be in committed relationship. We both were, wanted children. So we both wanted the same thing. So he said, well, I don't understand. We both want the same things. We get on really well. I like your vibe because you have a rootsy vibe, even though you're born in England, you're rootsy. So, why not? And I had to be honest with him. I said, to be honest, I had to be very honest. There was someone that I had liked from years ago, and my heart was still with that person, even though that person wasn't interested in me as a relationship. But my heart was just kind of stuck in that place. So he said, so where miss them? Where miss? I said, well, he's in Jamaica, but, I still like him. So he goes, well, you know what? Me, I gotta work harder for you then. If him there Jamaica, me here with you. Me, I gotta work harder for you. So I thought that really, something in my heart just melted when he said that. Something in my heart just melted, and I realized that, my gosh, I'm kind of wasting my time on what they call unrequited love, and I've got this man here that's really committed to trying to make something work for us. So in the end we got round to going on a date. Our first date was a restaurant, which was good because I said he wasn't a restaurant kind of person, but he kind of sacrificed what he liked to go on this date with me, to a restaurant. And it was really eye-opening because he was such a gentlemanly person, and I was very impressed with that date. He had conversation, he was just nice, so we then had a second date, and then by the third day I realized that I really like this person. I think I would like to take it further. So we did. We dated, and we realized we're going to have a committed relationship. And as time went on, it was, I have to say, it was like a natural progression that we just began to live together, because he would come round to my house and he would cook for me, because I have to tell you all this. The man cooked lovely. Oh my gosh. When that man cooked for you, I had to say to him, you have a job for life. When he cooked that first meal at my house, I said to him, you have a job for life, because he cooks wonderfully. So little by little, he'd come and he'd stay and come and he'd stay. And then, as time went by, he started to live together, basically. It wasn't something we sat down and planned or discussed beforehand, but it just happened like a natural progression, And the thing is, it was quite easy. It wasn't difficult because we just had this easy relationship. The one thing we always said about that we both wanted or didn't want was we don't like arguments. We don't like shouting. We just like to, if we need to discuss something, we discuss it, and that's how it was. There was never any kind of difficult conversations or whatever, and we just flowed really nicely, And I think that the worst in the first year of being together, I think the only challenge for me, which made me question if I could really, be with him, was what I call the motorbike syndrome. Because I have to tell you, so when him sleeping, him sound like the motorbike. Oh God, man, it sound like the living motorbike. No, listen, no. I lived by myself for 10 years, so I slept peacefully for 10 years in my bed by myself for 10 years. So to suddenly have the motorbike in the bed, Lord have mercy, and my poor nerves were really shattered. And that's the one thing that made me say, boy, can I live with, I love him. By this time I said, I love him, but can I live with someone that's going to make my nerves shattered? Because seriously, once he started to the motorbike thing, and the other thing is because he was used to sleeping alone, it's like he was doing kung fu in the bed. So I had to be, me said if this come over, me have to shield myself like me have play kung fu in the bed. And I said, can I live like this? Me love him, but can I live like this? But anyway, as I said, I really, you know, we were so good together that I said, you know what, I will just have to learn how to deal with it. And little by little, he became more disciplined. You know, I didn't have to fist fights in the bed so much. But, you know, the motorbike still went on, but I learned how to sleep before he sleeps so that I wouldn't have to, you know, deal with that. So, yes, so that first year, you know, it challenges, but, you know, we got through it and got through the second year and things were good. And the thing that we both said we really wanted from the beginning was children. Now, bearing in mind, when we got together, I was 39, he was 49. So although for him, you know, he was, you know, young enough to have children, for me, I knew that, well, I didn't know then that at that age, it was kind of going to be a struggle. So I thought it was going to just happen quickly, but it didn't. And we kept trying and nothing happened. Now, for me, I've always wanted children. That's something I wanted from a very young age, to be a mum. So when it was not happening for me, it was making me feel really sad and really quite depressed. He seemed to take it, you know, quite coolly, even though I knew he was disappointed because I know that's something, he loves children. And even though he has 2 grown-up children of his own from, you know, previous relationships, I know that he, you know, he would love to have a little one. And it didn't happen for us. And as a few years went by, we kind of looked into, you know, checking out why maybe it didn't happen. And we both had checks, and the checks came back to say both of us looked normal. There's nothing in our medical overview that would say that we couldn't have children. You know, everything was in place for me. Everything was in place for him. So there was no reason why it shouldn't happen. Just keep trying, which we did keep trying. And, you know, as I got older and older, I was getting more and more down. You know, I was really getting really quite down. And at one point, I was even thinking about IVF. And I did go and say, is this possible for me to have it? At that point, I must confess, I think because of his beautiful cooking, we did put on little weight. So I was kind of roly-poly. And the doctor said to me, I would need to lose a little weight before they would think about IVF for me. But the doctor did not tell me that there was a cutoff point in terms of age cutoff. So I went away and tried to lose the weight. But because I was feeling quite depressed and sad about the situation, it took me a little while to drop off the weight. So when I eventually went back now to deal with it, because I'd lost weight and I was looking really spruce, looking really good, the doctor told me, say, oh, you've passed the age now. We don't really do IVF for your age. And trust me, the way the man made me sit down in his office, chat to me about all kind of things. After an hour of chatting, he said to me, oh, you're too old, but we can, you know, you can get someone else's eggs from Spain, go to Spain and get someone's eggs, and then we can. And I was so upset. It really hurt me. But at the same time, I just said, you know what, I've got a lovely man in my life. You know, we've got a beautiful relationship, and I just have to be happy with what we have. At that point, I should say, we'd been together now going up to 9 years. And as I said, not married yet. And that was also an issue for me because I was wanting to be married, because to me, that was what life was about once you find someone that, you know, you're committed to. Anyway, eventually, he did ask me to marry him. So by the 9th year of us being together, he did propose, and it was a very lovely proposal, and get the pink champagne and the flower, I think it was roses, roses, and I come in from work and him prop up in the door with the pink champagne and the flowers, and him asked me to marry him, and I was just blown away because I didn't think he had that kind of romance in him, you know. And so by
this was the 9th year that he asked you. Within the 9th year, he asked you to marry him?
Yes, because we got together 2001, and he asked us to marry him early 2010. Yeah, that's the 9th year. Yeah.
So for the 9 years that you were with him, everything was good, other than the snoring thing that you learned to accept. Everything was good.
Well, I mean, looking back, there were the red flags. Let me backtrack on what I would see as the red flags. Twice in the relationship, and I'd say, I remember in 2009, we had was very stressed because he had to look after a sick relative, got to Jamaica, look after a sick relative who actually eventually died. He then came back to England, and then the mother of his child was sick and then died, and he was kind of there supporting both of them. So I know he was very stressed. So 2009, he was very, very stressed. And I don't know what or why, but for 9 weeks in 2009, we didn't speak. I don't know I can't remember what it is that kind of triggered that. But for 9 weeks, we didn't speak. So I'm thinking, I didn't know what was wrong. And I got to the end of those 9 weeks. And I remember saying to my best friend, I said to my best friend, I can't take this anymore. And I think I'm going to end it. I can't live like this because he won't talk to me, and he, and I don't know what's going on. And I said to her, this was like the December, I said to her, I'm just going to let Christmas pass, and then I'm going to tell him it's done. I've had enough now, because I can't take living every day with someone who's not speaking to me and who's always looking so down and depressed. So that was the December 2009, I said that. And then the January, I didn't say that to him, but the January 2010, he proposed. And it was great. But as I said, that period, where we didn't speak, and there was no good reason for it. Which, saying that, we did talk about it when he started to speak, and he said it's just that he felt pressured and felt down and felt depressed and whatever. And I said to him, and we agreed that we would never do that again. If ever we're going through a bad time, we would speak to one another. We wouldn't do this thing of not speaking. So he said, yes, no, we won't go down that road again. So that was something, we put that aside because we talked about it, and then the proposal came shortly after that. And then, of course, me so already, within 5 months, 5, 6, 7 months of the proposal, I had arranged a date for our wedding. And we went abroad to do it because, I tell you the honest truth, his family's like sand grain in England and in Jamaica. So we couldn't afford to do it in England or Jamaica because too much family would have just not been able to manage it. So we went to a different Caribbean island. Just about 6 of us went, and we had the most beautiful, when I say beautiful, I have to tell you, it was the happiest day of my life. Even though I was of an age, up in age, that wedding day was the happiest day of my life. It was just so emotional for me. And I could see that the man loved me. I had no doubt. Some people say, oh, I had little doubts before the wedding. No doubts about the wedding. No doubts at all. On the day, it just felt so good, so right. Everything was beautiful. And I remember I made a little speech on the video saying, this man, I love him so much, and I fall in love with him over and over again. Because it was literally like that. It was so deep that I would fall in love with him over and over again. It was just so wonderful. And we had the honeymoon. That was great and whatever. Anyway, we came, back to England, back to everyday life. And of course, life gets in the way because his business kind of crashed, and I know that a man who likes to do his own business, when things happen, I know, especially with men, it gets to them, it wears them down because they want to be the provider and be making money. And, his business did crash. And I know that was a difficult time for him. So, after the wonderful honeymoon and that lovely thing, he came back to a reality which was difficult for him, And then life did get difficult in terms of, he then had to think about letting go of the business and lots of losses in terms of financial. So, but I was always there to support. I never made an issue of it because I was working, bills were being paid. There was not a problem for me, not a problem for me at all. So, we ticked along, and still underneath all of that, the agenda was really and truly a child. I still wanted a child, even though I know I was getting up in age. But they always say, look at Sarah, she had children when she was 90 years old. And I said, I don't want to wait till I'm 90, but hopefully it would still happen for me even though I was getting up in age. It didn't happen. And I got to a point where I said, you know what, I feel disappointed for myself deeply, but also for him, you know, because I really wanted to give him a child, really wanted to give him a child, because I said, he's just one of these people that loves children, you know. Anywhere MC picnic, he's playing with them, he's, you know, wonderful. He's so good with children, he really is. So I got to a point where I said, you know what, I want to do something good for him, because I could see his spirits were going down and down because he lost his business and life wasn't going as it should be. And I said, I want to do something nice for him still. He had a piece of land in Jamaica. He bought some land years ago. I said, you know what, let's start building a house in Jamaica that when we retire, you know, when we get to a certain age, we'll have somewhere to live, you know. So I remortgaged my house so that we could build this house in Jamaica. Mm-hmm. And I could see the life come back in him, because he loves Jamaica so much, you know. That's the place where he's happiest, when he's in his, you know, his little village, you know, with his cousins, and as I said, full of like sangre. Everyone in his little area is his cousin. And so he was so happy when he could actually start going back to Jamaica and building his house. But I should say the plan was for it to be our house. But I did say to him, you know, because I can't give you a child, I'm giving you the gift of something that's, you know, that I know you love and really want, which is your house in Jamaica. So, you know, he would go back, every so often, you know, maybe once a year, spend months out there, because what we weren't prepared to do is just to send money, because I know a lot of people send money back to Jamaica, and when they go, they don't see nothing bill, but they see the next man have a house bill. Mm-hmm. So because of that, what the plan was that he would go spend X amount of months there, oversee the building, and then come back and then do that until, you know. Anyway, so he was going back and forth to Jamaica, and he was happy. And, you know, when he's in Jamaica, it's like he's just in his element, because I said he loves his family, loves his cousins. He's got the little baby cousins, he's got the big old cousins, the old people. He's got everybody, and he just loves it, because that's where his heart is. Even though he's been in England for so long, his heart is in Jamaica. So 2013 now, the house coming along nicely. And I would go out there, like he would spend 3 months, I'd go and maybe spend, you know, a month, you know, in between and whatever. 2013 now, he went, and we had booked for him to have at least almost 7 months in Jamaica, which is a long time to be away. In that 7 months, I was out there with him for 1 month, and it was cool still. It was cool still. But when I came back to England and left him out there, I could see that he was just so happy to be out there. And I'm thinking, what? Oh, come, you know, tell me, say you miss me, because he would call now and again. I mean, so, you know, miss me? Oh, yes. But I would have to be asking him, you know what I'm saying? I'm thinking to myself, why? You know, because I'm really missing him, really missing him. And so 2013, he came back after being in Jamaica for 7 months. And I went to the airport to meet him, and I'm telling you, I was so happy to see him. I ran to him and hugged him up. And the first thing he said to me is, "Oh, you're so maga," because I'd lost weight while he was away, so I wanted to look sprucey when he come back. And I think to myself, I said to him, "But hold on a minute, is that the first thing you're going to tell me? Aren't you glad to see me?" I said, "Oh yes." And I realized that it's like we seem to be not on the same page anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of drifting, you know. But I said, you know, as I said, old-time Jamaican men. I live with my dad, and I know that they've got a different way of looking at life and talking about things and what's important to them. So I just say, you know what? I know him, been with him a long time now, so that's just who he is. So I didn't take it as anything, really. So we carried on, you know, plodding along, and he was going back and forth. And then what happened
was that normal, him being away from you 6-7 months at a time, though? Did that was normal for you?
Well, we started off because it was always me booking. So I'd book and say, how long do you want? Let's do, because obviously if you're going to be building, you want to spend enough time there to see some kind of significant improvement. So the minimum he would stay there is maybe 2 or 3 months. But that time there, I just said, you know what, we need to get this thing finished now, because it's been dragging on since 2011, whatever.
But question though, you don't think 7 months away from your husband, or 7 months your husband away from a wife is kind of a long time. You don't think so?
Yes, it is. But let me explain to you the way we were. I didn't have a worry about the time span because, as I said, I went out and spent a month with him. Yeah, I spent a month with him, and I could. No. And the reason why I didn't go back in between that time was because I actually was threatened with redundancy. My job was being threatened with redundancy because I would have normally gone back and, gone back in between. And out of the blue, I was threatened with redundancy. And this was shortly after I had remortgaged my house to do the building. And that coincided with the fact that I had also had a very severe back condition, which meant I couldn't travel on.
Hold on.
It's a night.
Hold on a second. Because I mean, I know you're on a track with this story, but I'm hearing some things in between that I just don't want to fly over my head or the listener's head, because I mean, I don't know if anybody else heard what you said just now or what you said earlier, but I heard. And the first time you said what you said, I just make that one there slide. Now, what I'm referring to was when you said that you wanted to build a house for him in Jamaica. I let that slip through. I was like, all right, you're a nice wife. You wanted to build a house for your husband. Okay. But this is the part now where I have to ask you this question. Did you literally just said you remortgaged your home to finish building the house in Jamaica? That's what you said just now?
Yes.
All right. How did that work out?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, we're here because this is what happened. Shortly after I remortgaged it, so I said I had a secure job. I took out insurance to make sure that if anything happened, I'd cover my mortgage. So I didn't feel at risk by doing it, And so I said, it wasn't just, even though I said it was his house, it was going to be for our retirement. That's going to be the place where, when we're 70 and he's 80, we, lay down the dry bones, on the veranda and sun ourselves. That was the dream, It's somewhere for the two of us to be.
Okay.
So, but unforeseen now, shortly after I remortgaged, I was made redundant by my company. And unfortunately, because it was such a short space of time between the remortgage and the redundancy notice, I couldn't claim on the insurance. So I was left feeling very worried that I'd have to find another job very quickly to make sure. But I wasn't concerned because I'd been in a job, a good job for all my working life. So I didn't think it was going to be difficult to find a job. Unfortunately, as I said to you, I had a back condition which was getting worse and worse at that point. So sitting and standing was a problem for me. So I had to be quite careful about how I was going to look for jobs. So in the end, I got myself a part-time job, which was like 3 days a week, which meant I could rest in between days, rest my back in between days, and I could manage that job. And it would just about cover the mortgage. And I did that for 3 years, did that. And, things were still going well. I wasn't able to travel anymore to Jamaica because I couldn't do the long season up on the plane. The 9-hour ride for my back, I couldn't manage it. So he was still going, back and forth. And, I was getting pictures to see that the house was coming on nicely and, looking good. And I had the input of saying what I wanted, like the tiles and the whatever. And it was going well. And then it came to 2016 now. And I got to a point where I'm saying, okay, I miss Jamaica because that's a place where I try to go every year because I love being there. It's just like, home. And I discovered that British Airways have a thing called a flatbed section where you can fly lying down flat on your back. So I thought that's just what I need. So I booked for myself to go on the flatbed flight. But as you can imagine, it's very expensive.
The viewer's asking a question. I've seen this question on YouTube and I've seen it on Instagram. They're asking, with him traveling so often and going to Jamaica and being there so long, they're asking if he wasn't employed at the time.
If he wasn't employed,
Right.
no, because I said after his business crashed, because I said all his time in England from the day dot, he's always just been his own business. So his own shops, he promotes, he's run nightclubs. He's never worked for anybody else. So basically, after his business crashed so massively, his focus was really just to, get the house finished. And then in his head, he had a mind of how he could, have the house in Jamaica, have a business, and then start, money flowing back in again, So no, he didn't have anything in terms of, a job, as we'd say.
Okay.
At that point.
Okay.
Yeah. So where am I to now? So yes, I said, yes, I've discovered a flatbed flight, so I can come to Jamaica with him. We can both, be out there together, me have a little holiday and he could carry on, have a few months to carry on with the house. So the plan was I would fly flatbed class, which was expensive, so I couldn't afford for us to both fly. So he would fly in the normal class, but because of the with the different prices, our flights was like 2 days difference. So I was going to go ahead, and then he was going to follow 2 days later. And then I said to him, because usually we got down to country, and trust me, when I come out of country, and I like to move around. So I said, let's go first to Montego Bay, have a nice little break for ourselves in Montego Bay for a couple of weeks and have like a holiday, and then we can go to country and do what you need to do. So that was the agreement. So I went ahead to Montego Bay, linked up with a couple of my friends, and then he followed 2 days later. Anyway, met him at the airport. Glad to see him, hug him up. But I could see his mood wasn't great. And I had my two friends he knew the two friends who I was with. He met them before. And his cousin was there also that met him at the airport. So we all went back to the hotel. And I should have said this before, but I was having women's problems. Basically, I was hemorrhaging quite badly. It just happened that day. So I had to rush, after dropping him back to the hotel to sort myself out. So I was, he was in the room with the rest of the people then. And while I was in the bathroom, he came in not knowing I was in there. And because I was kind of in a bit of a state, I just said to him quickly, "Oh, shut the door because I'm in here." And he went back out quickly. And then when I came out of the bathroom, everyone had left. The friends that had been, there had left. So I said, "Oh, where they gone?" He said, "Oh, them gone." So I was in a state because I was not in a good place because I had never hemorrhaged like that before in my life, and I was quite frightened. So I said, I'm going to call my friend who just left because I need her to support me, basically. And he was just, as I said, very quiet. He didn't seem to have any kind of concern about me that I was in this state. But he just sat quietly. We had cooked for him so that he would have something to eat when he come. He didn't even pay the food no mind. He just was sitting out on the balcony, like just empty. So I didn't understand why he was just so cold. He was really cold, and I didn't understand because I'm saying I was in a state, and I thought I just need some support because I'm feeling like I could be bleeding to death for all I know. It was so heavy and awful. Anyway, I was on this. Spoke to my friend who was outside talking. I was in tears, and I'm saying I know what's going on. I need help, and he's just sitting there like whatever. She goes anyway. So she supported me. Went back. So I went back into the hotel now. And the man didn't speak to me, didn't say a word to me. I'm trying to say, how was the flight? How was things? And it's like he's barely speaking to me. And, the hotel beds, them big and massive and wide. Mister, when he got in bed, him, they're the east, me, they're the west. And I didn't understand. So I'm thinking, you haven't, we've been apart for a couple of days and glad to see you. And you're treating me like I don't understand. I didn't understand it. So I'm asking, is he okay? And he's barely answering me, and I didn't know what's going on. I'm saying, this doesn't make sense. Anyway, the next day, we're due to move to a different apartment where we could sort of stay with my friends. And we moved on. And it's like, this is Mo Bay now. And we're at that, I can't remember the name of the beach now, but it's that beach that's really beautiful. And I'm saying, he's sitting on the back to look at this beach. I'm saying, come, let's go to the beach. And he said, no, we're not ready yet. We're not ready yet. And I'm thinking, but we haven't got many days here. Come on, let's make the most of being at this lovely beach across the road, just there in front of us. And the man would sit all day sitting there, you know, not saying a word. And I couldn't understand it. I didn't understand it. But I didn't pay it too much mind because, you know, maybe it's just the fact he's not used to being Mobe. He likes to be in his own little district in, you know, in country, and maybe doesn't like being in a strange town. So I said, allow it. But it went on, and I began to feel really horrible because he would talk to, when my friends came, he would talk to them and smile with them. But with me, it was like he was just so cold, so cold, and I didn't understand it. And I kept saying to him, what's wrong? Is something wrong? Have I done something? And he's just saying, no, not, you know. And he's like, he's not saying what was going on. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it was also planned that my sister and her daughter was going to come out a few days, the week later, so that we could have a time together. So they came out, and we was all in this apartment. And by now we'd moved to Ochi. It was in Ochi because I wanted them to see, you know, see the island the way I like seeing it, which is in hotels. And so we're all in this apartment, and, you know, he's talking to my sister okay, and my niece okay. But to me, he was just cold as ice. I'm thinking, clearly it's me, because if he's talking to everybody else okay, then I'm continually asking him, I'm putting my arms around him. I've actually got a video of me putting my arms around him, and you literally see the man recoil as if like he couldn't stand me. And I'm thinking, what is going on? So by now I'm really getting upset. So I'm saying, I don't understand. I'm asking him what's wrong. Is it me? Is he not, you know, he's got no answer for me, yet he can talk to everybody. When he cook the food, as usual, he will cook the food for everybody. You know, he call everyone, yeah, food ready, but he doesn't know my name to call my name. So I'm thinking, this is ridiculous now. And I was feeling really down. Really down. My friend who had been around me in Montego Bay, she said she'd like to come and spend time with us. Oh, she said, yeah, come and spend time with us. There's plenty of room in this apartment. So she came up, and it was nice because I could talk to her, and she, you know, I felt as if I had a friend, because my sister and I, you know, we don't have that close relationship. So having my friend there was good. And as I said, he talked to my friend, he talked to everybody, but he's not talking to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm now baffled. I'm saying, what is going on? What have I done or not done? What's going on? What's in his head? Can't get nothing out of him, you know. In the end, I just got so upset that I said to my friend, let's just go, you know, let me and you just go back to Mobe, you know, have a few days, because she's got the apartment there, and just leave them, because him and my sister, they get on. So just let them, you know, get on with it. And I'm going to go, I can't take this anymore. You know, I'm here on holiday. You know, it's cost me money to be here. I'm not going to just be miserable. So I said to him, me and my friends going to spend a few days in Mobe. I don't know if him said dinner though. I don't know if him said anything, but went. And yeah, me and my friend had a nice time. But in my heart, I'm feeling really horrible. I'm saying, I don't understand this, because this is not us, you know. There was no argument. There was, you know, nothing said or done. And anyway, eventually, you know, that part of the holiday finished, and we was going to go up down to country now to, you know, to where his people are. And we went down there together, and it's where we were staying is we stayed in his cousin's house, because he always stays in his cousin's house, a room in his cousin's house. And basically the same treatment, just not speaking.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question before you continue. All right. So you mentioned that when you got there, the greeting wasn't proper at all. It's like him give a shady greeting. That's what you said, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what was the communication like before you went to Jamaica? Was he acting shady? Was he still conversing with you normal? What was it like?
You see, sometimes looking back, you see more than when you're in it. So at the time, I thought that everything was okay before. But in saying that, the day that he took me to the airport that I was leaving, I remember I was just going through the gate and I turned to him to hug him and say goodbye. And at the same time I turned to him, his phone rang, and he felt it proper to pick up the phone before saying goodbye to me. And I thought, oh, come on, I'm going on a plane. Anytime I go on a plane, I say that could be the last time he's seen me. That's how I see it, going on a plane. And the fact he took the call from the person rather, you know, and I know it was his right to take him back home. But I thought, I'm there about to hug you and kiss you, and then you take a call and just kind of turn away as if whatever. So that did hurt me, because I said, no, man, I don't, that's, you know, I'm going on a plane right now. I should be the priority to say, you know, goodbye to. So that did kind of sit in my mind, but I didn't pay too much mind, because sometimes I think he's a bit absent-minded, and sometimes if you bring it to his attention, he'll say, oh, me never even noticed. But looking back, I said, no, from then he really wasn't that kind of close. But, you know, looking back, I saw it more than at the time. But yeah, I think that there were little signs that I just overlooked, because I said, when you love someone and you used to them, you kind of just overlook them because you know who they are. You know?
But what I want to know is, was there communication before you traveled to Jamaica? Was there phone conversations? Were there moments where you would have on the phone? Like, because remember at the beginning of the relationship, you know, you on the phone for till the wee hours a morning and all of that. So now he's in Jamaica, you are there. Before you traveled to Jamaica to go see him, were there moments where you would have on the phone having good? No, this is your husband, you know. So I'm saying, what was the communication like before you traveled to Jamaica? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, no, the thing is, no, there was no long conversation, because what we'd become was like an old married couple where we, you know, we communicate, we have the banter, but there was no long conversation. There was no long conversations. So basically, before we traveled, obviously, I told him what the plans were in terms of where we're going to be, the itinerary, and he seemed to be okay about it. He didn't make any objection. That's his personality. He'll always just go along with things. He will never object. He'll just go along with it, and you never know really if he's in it or not, but he just goes along with it. So yes, I said, this is our plan, this is what we're going to do, and he seemed fine with it, you know. But as I said, looking back, I think he had become quieter, but as I said, I didn't notice, because the thing about us that we're very similar is that even though we like each other's company, we like our own space as well. So we could be in the same house, and he could be in his corner, I could be in my corner. Happily, I'm doing something that I like doing, he's doing something he likes doing, and we're happy because we like our own space at times. And then at the end of the day, we come together. So that's how we lived over the years. So I didn't really notice too much that maybe there was a kind of distance growing. I didn't notice it. But looking back, I realized that actually, when I stopped working, because after a while, you know, when my back got really bad, I had days when I wasn't at work. He would always be in one part of the house. I'd be lying on the bed, and he would never really make time to come up and sit and talk. He'd always be downstairs cooking and out a road and whatever. So looking back, I realized that, yeah, actually, the gap was growing. The gap was definitely growing, but I wasn't noticing it. I didn't notice it because, as I said, when you love someone, you think someone loves you, you just ride along, you flow along, and, you know, and I said, I don't want anyone to get the wrong idea. I think he's a good person. The essence of this man is a good man. He's not, I don't see him as a bad man, but I do think he probably has things in his head that he doesn't express. And then I can only say that maybe he's got things in his head that he's not expressing, and then it just overtakes him. That's the only thing I can think is going on with him, because I should have added this in the beginning. He said to me, you know, so me, I dream, you know, when me dream certain dream, I something. And in when we were in the early stages of our relationship, he used to have dreams about me. And he said, about twice he dream and say, me dream say, you is there with man, I make love to man in front of me. And this was his dream. And basically, I don't know if he took his dreams, because he says they have meaning, and it made him insecure about me, because I can't understand, you know, why he would always be saying about these dreams he have about me. And I was saying to him, but look how we live. You know, we don't spend a night apart. You know where I'm at every minute of the day. What, you know, why would you have these kind of dreams? So he said, Mom, no, but, you know, I just dream. and I had it in my mind. I said, I wonder if he has dreams and he's attaching meaning to the dreams, thinking that, you know, I'm somehow not a faithful person. I don't know. I'm having to guess now because I don't know what goes on in this man's head, because he doesn't speak out about what he's really thinking and feeling in that respect.
Obviously, you know, the program did not end there. She went into a lot more, and she even got to explain why he claimed that the reason is that him stopped talk to her. And you will want to hear what his explanation was. If you want to, click the link in the description. It will take you on over to the actual video on Unstoppable Live, where you can continue listening. But when you go over there, remember, hit that subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell. So once we go live with topics like these, you'll be able to get notified and call in, participate in whatever the topic is at the time. Watch out. If you're watching on Facebook, remember, hit the follow button as well. And if you're there listening on the recap channel right now on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. That would be appreciated. Until the next Unstoppable recap, stay strong, stay motivated, but most of all, remain unstoppable. Unstoppable.